last week, Amitav Ghosh made a statement. Amitav Ghosh, the literary author, celebrity from Kolkata, has written Kolkata Chromosome, Sea of Poppies, and so many other books. Mr. Ghosh stated, and it has been reported in the space only last week, that he has given a call to the world leaders. He has given a call to the world and said that I urge the world to focus on community-based services to combat climate change. He even goes on to say that carbon credits and all the other initiatives taken are all very good, but primarily it is the community-based services, the community-based solutions that will combat the climate change very well. I transport myself to a few years ago. I am sitting in my office in the chamber of the chairman of New Town, and in comes a small team from a bank. I know the leader of the delegation, and we have a conversation about plantation in the monsoons. June, as we all know, is very wet, it's raining outside, and she says that please give us a plot of land where we can plant some trees. Of course, we were having a plan to plant 10,000 trees each year, so if somebody came forward to plant trees, we were welcoming it. The day came, I went also, and it was a very good event with lots of photos and lots of selfies and a small piece of sweets also, but the point was, from the day after, nobody was there on the field. The tree saplings were not given water, they were not given fertilizer, mulching was not being done, pesticides were not being given, and indeed we had to bring in our own gardeners and people to take care of the plants so that they did not die. I made a point that we will not allow this to happen again. I made an inventory of all the green spaces in New Town Kolkata that were available for such plantation activities, because by the master plan, about 30% of the plot areas are to be kept green. But to have a proper association with the community, we made certain rules and invited applications. We made a rule that anyone who wants to plant there has to maintain it at least for 11 months, then it will be renewed. We made a rule that nobody can make a profit out of it, no commercial purpose is allowed. We made a plan that innovative solutions will be encouraged. And what did we have? Absolutely fantastic ideas coming out of the community, consisting of the local welfare associations, of NGOs, of corporates, and I can recall, for example, it was the time of the COVID in 2019, and there was one immunity green verge, immunity garden. You know, imagine those days before the Covaxin and Covishields came in, and all you could do to prevent COVID was to have Hartoki and Amloki and whatever herbal products we had, we could lay our hands on. So there was this bright idea that why don't we create a garden that will give further immunity to the people. And other great ideas also came in. There was one guava garden, there was one honeybee garden, there was one dragon fruit. Dragon fruit we thought only grew in Thailand, but it was brought into these green verges, and also a bamboo plantation where it was said that a bamboo gives 30% more oxygen than other plants. So it's wonderful to walk in the morning, and they named it an oxygen walk green verge. So these were brilliant ideas that came out, and we were very happy. We wanted to involve the community from birth till they departed this soul. We had many programs. Whenever in the NKDA we got to know, because it is a statutory authority for registering births and deaths under the law. So we would know when there is a newborn child that has come into being. And if there is a girl child, we would give a gift, a sapling to the parents. The idea was to associate the growth of the child with the plant so that as they grew to 18 years, the girl would be matured and there would be some economic asset also with her for the family. We also had this senior citizens living. We don't call it senior citizens home. It's a brilliant club. We call it Shopno Bhor. It's a kind of a dream for the elderly, and they have a lot of activities to keep them engaged. One of the activities that we devised was to have a kitchen garden. In the daycare center, we had 1 acre of land kept aside for the elderly people to decide among themselves what to grow, whether it would be brinjal or some other vegetable, whether during the summertime which fruits to be grown, and they would get the harvesting done, they would get the money and the price factor from the shops around, and they would sell it at a small discount, and it would vanish in no time. It was a wonderful way of associating senior citizens with plantation and kitchen garden. And we also had certain events. It was COVID time I am thinking of, and the COVID survivors, meaning if you recall, the term COVID survivor was used during those days when those who had suffered COVID but had recovered. Those COVID survivors were given tall plants to do their some kind of a greening. We said that we should have also a Sriti Bone. Sriti Bone would mean memory park. Whenever somebody in the family goes away, the member of the family could go and plant a sapling. And every year I have seen families coming together and making sure that the plant is growing into a tree, and they fondly remember, often with candles and cakes, about their departed grandmother or grandfather. Sriti Bone is a wonderful place for morning walkers, and everybody gives respect to the departed. And inside we also had a floating solar energy plant floating on the water inside, and I hope we had been able to, in course of their morning walks, able to motivate the morning walkers into the necessity of renewable energy. But one point I discovered, that getting proper saplings was a problem, and getting smaller saplings was also not advisable because it dies quickly. Just like a small infant, it requires more care. For the normal lay person, it is difficult to tackle and handle small trees. So we built a unique experiment. We did a unique experiment, and it was a tall tree nursery. A tall tree nursery that was done in collaboration with the forest department. Here, forest department experts would plant trees, grow them up, ensure that these are of the right variety, and one could go and choose at least 6 feet high trees to be planted in your own place. And this was a huge success, and it was available online also, and not only in Newtown and Salt Lake and Kolkata, but people from far away places also came to the tall tree nursery for getting quality tall trees that can be planted. We did not stop at this. In order to ensure that not merely examples, but there was a bit of force of law, we made a rule. We made a rule in the building plan that says that every plot of land in Newtown, the owner has to plant at least one tree, no matter whether it's a 2-kata plot or a 2-acre plot. At least minimum one tree has to be there, or else your taxes will be affected. And we made a rule also that rooftop of slightly larger housings, about 40% of the rooftop will have to be urban farming, vegetable growing, so that transportation of vegetables from outside Kolkata is not necessary, and thereby reducing carbon footprint. Now, if you go to New Town and see any houses, big housing projects coming up, the architect has to do this urban farming because it is compulsory, otherwise he will not get the sanction of the building. But coming back to ways of engaging with the community, we had a brilliant experiment that came off from the Durga Puja experience. Bengal, as we all know, is mad about Durga Puja, which has also got the UN heritage tag now. And during the Durga Puja, what we did from NKDA, we used to give prizes to the winning images or the organizations. And they would come in hordes, with the whole committee would come to the stage and take the prize, and later on they would sometimes show me, sir, you had given this prize, we got this Durga Puja medal or shield from you, so we are so happy. The point that I took from there was, why don't we classify the housing communities, the citizens communities, to compete among themselves to see who is doing a better greening job. So there are 80 such units, 80 rural residential welfare associations or housing societies in New Town, and we drew them into a competition. There was very clear criteria of measurement, and Deloitte, our partner, would actually go to the housing societies to train them how to fill up the forms, how to give evidence so that they could compete. And I can say that there was a great deal of enthusiasm. Nobody knew how to fill up the forms, so we helped them. But this healthy competition, which in other administrative practices we sometimes call naming and shaming. I mean, everybody wants to be first. I am yet to see a parent who does not want to see his child become first in the class. So likewise, every block, every society wants a top position and a recognition. So this was a very, very potent way of motivating people, motivating the community into greening of the planet Earth. And we did one remarkable thing. We did a remarkable thing in the form of involving, creating new kind of sports to help clean the environment. We were doing a no plastic movement. We had imposed fines, but it was not working. And so what we did, we called upon all the people to come to the eco park and do a plogging competition, which essentially meant you have to team up a male and a female, preferably not the spouses, to come and in 30 minutes time gather with the gloves and a bag and a pad some plastic or rubbish that may be lying around. We of course had to ensure that the park was not cleaned the day before, and whoever got the highest amount of as weighed garbage or plastic would be given a prize. Later I came to know that one middle-aged lady, I know him, she is quite thin and very vociferous and energetic. She had written an article in the newspaper stating how she enjoyed the plogging and how she was overtaken by running by another younger couple because she had spotted the plastic lying, but before she could pick up, somebody else overran her. So there was this very fun competition, and what is more, and this is important, she says and she writes in the article that I had carried in the competition after getting my award or certificate, I had carried a pledge form that I will not use any plastic, that I will make the earth green, that I will plant trees, that I will make it very environment friendly, some such promises. She kept and got all contestants to sign, and she gave it to me. And this was all written in her nice article. So people got involved in the whole process, and I found soon that the Laughing Club of New Town, elderly people's Laughing Club is there. The Laughing Club of New Town was also organizing Plogging, and this was a huge way of involving the community into seeing that plastic is not being used. Of course, we used a lot of ways in which to spread awareness. I take credit for one thing, that we are perhaps the only in Newtown, we were perhaps the only one to devise a community radio in the locality to spread awareness about greening and cleaning. We did not have an FM radio, it was very costly. So we did an apps radio. And to ensure that people listened to it, tuned into it, we had community members come and recite and tell stories and make cultural functions, and also in the process make many discussions and talk shows about the necessity of greening and cleaning the city. We also did a lot of work in cycling, and this was to ensure that fossil fuel based transportation was reduced. We were the first city in India to have air conditioned electric buses, and the people just loved it up. Newtown is the only smart city in Bengal. When we were making the project report, we took an opinion poll as to what the residents thought were the three major problems of Newtown. And to our surprise, among the top three figured pollution of the air. Air pollution and dust. People said that we can't walk in the morning. Our breaths are getting choked. So let us do something for the breathing. For my entire period of doing Green City adventure, I have always highlighted not that the glacier will melt in North Pole, or that in the long run 2 degrees Celsius will be more, but that you can breathe easily, you can do your morning walk easily, and that was very easily communicated and accepted by the citizens. In 2018, we were able to get the first satellite city in India to be rated gold rated green city. We were not satisfied. We worked hard. Even during COVID, we did a lot of initiatives for greening. And within a period of 2 years, a record by IGBC, which gives the certificate, they usually upgrade only after 5 years. But seeing our enthusiasm, seeing our citizens, seeing our stakeholders meeting, they agreed to re-evaluate it, and we got the platinum rated green city in 2020. And this is valid for 5 years. So even as I speak, we were able to convert the whole city into a green city. And I will end by saying that I think this has also made the people happy. The connection with nature, the act of doing something for the earth, and in the process having a pleasant morning and evening walk, it really makes people happy. And indeed, Newtown has also been evaluated by IIT Kharagpur as one of the happy cities of India, certainly happier than many parts of Bengal and Eastern India. I thank you for giving this opportunity.